I'd say you might not believe this one, but if you've been following cryptocurrency for any length of time at all, you probably will. Founders of bankrupt crypto hedge fund 3AC, aka Three Arrows Capital, mocked after pitching new venture. Now, if you don't know about Three Arrows Capital, I have a really good in-depth video about this. It's called something clickbaity, such as the two crypto idiots who burned $1 trillion, which of course they did. So the clickbait is kind of real. But essentially what they did was raise a whole bunch of money, backed by nothing, got entangled with a bunch of other crypto companies because they were offering such a high return on any money you basically gave them, without paying any of it back, of course. And then they just gambled it all in cryptocurrency. And Suzu, which is one of these two guys, Zhu and Davies, called this the crypto super cycle, which essentially was the idea that crypto is only ever going to go up. And while ever crypto kept going up, the fact that they had all of this money tied in really risky ventures in cryptocurrency meant that anyone who had money invested with Three Arrows Capital was able to pull their money out and see a return because everyone was just making crazy money. But the minute it started going sideways, they were just bleeding hundreds of millions of dollars every single day. And then, of course, when it started trading down, cryptocurrency as a whole, they went illiquid like really quickly. And it was to the point where there were so many companies that had hundreds of millions of dollars, even billions of dollars in some cases, invested in Three Arrows Capital, that as soon as Three Arrows Capital went insolvent, it sent off essentially a cascade effect throughout cryptocurrency that has since bankrupted multiple large investment firms, cryptocurrency companies, markets as well, not markets, sorry, exchanges as well. And essentially because everyone was trying to sell crypto as quickly as possible to, get as much money as they could out of their current investments, it just drove the prices of everything down. They essentially, instead of perpetuating this super cycle, they essentially killed cryptocurrency, at least in the short term, overnight. And then, of course, we've seen other companies since then go bankrupt, FTX, things like that. So Three Arrows Capital was the start of what they called the crypto contagion, and then it's just snowballed into other companies. So they're back, apparently. They've teamed up with founders of troubled CoinFlex. 3AC Duo has been sparring online with hedge funds liquidators, which people are still trying to get all the files together. These two guys went missing, by the way, because what you should definitely do when you've, caused $1 trillion to vanish out of a market, bankrupt a bunch of other people, threaten some people. It's also, they are allegedly, I will say allegedly, they did owe money to organized crime and things like that at the time. They went missing, because that's what you do when a lot of people are after you for a whole bunch of money. You just go missing. The founders of cryptocurrency hedge fund Three Arrows Capital, which saddled investors and lenders with potentially billions of dollars of losses when it imploded last year, are seeking money for a new venture. Judging by reactions on crypto Twitter, they face an uphill battle. Of course, why would you give people who did this with your money any additional money? I'm sure some people will, because there are a load of scammers, like actual straight up scammers in crypto and NFTs that people still keep believing, still keep giving money. So Suzu and Kyle Davies are seeking to raise about $25 million for a crypto exchange called GTX that will focus on trading in crypto claims. Now this is the kicker, guys. According to a pitch deck for the proposed business seen by Bloomberg News, they're teaming up with the founders of CoinFlex, a digital asset exchange that filed for restructuring in the Seychelles in August. Restructuring, meaning they're having some severe financial problems as well. The irony that Zhu and Davies, who spent months publicly sparring with Three Arrows Capital liquidators, working to recover assets for creditors, want to get into the business of crypto claims, wasn't lost on detractors. Many tweets centered on the similarity between GTX's proposed name and FTX, the crypto exchange that collapsed in November, and whose founder Sam Bankman-Fried has been charged with crimes including fraud. That's another rabbit hole which will go down at some point. Imagine watching FTX fail after seeing your own company fail and then choosing to try to launch an exchange and name it GTX, which is a single letter from being FTX. Whoever is running the simulation loves trolling us. Now, I did read, and I'm not 100% sure if this is true or not, that one of these two Chuckle brothers, one of these two clowns, said the reason they called it GTX is because G is what comes next from F, which is some like, I'm 14 and this is deep type shit. Like, oh, FTX went down, but you know what's next? GTX. Like, fucking grow up. Zhu and Davies' proposed venture is akin to arsonists returning to the scene of the crime and offering to charge their victims for buckets of water. Nick Carter, a partner at crypto venture capital firm Castle Island Ventures, said in an email. So if you don't know what the proposed idea of GTX is supposed to be, they're essentially going to be trading on debt claims, as far as I'm aware. So as far as I understand their pitch, it goes like this. They create a marketplace that has its own made-up cryptocurrency, probably called something stupid like GUSD, or whatever name they give it. They then allow you, as someone who lost money on one of the great many and growing cryptocurrency bankruptcies, to onboard your claim to funds that were lost in those markets. You can then elect to hold your claim on their marketplace until it is resolved by the bankruptcy court or the liquidation process, which could take up to 10 years. And then you can cash out that claim on the website for their made-up currency, which of course means giving them your claim and they cash it out for real currency and you get their made-up one. They'll probably also give you a slight markup in their own token because they create it out of thin air and it's worth nothing unless someone else is willing to pay for it. They'll also, and this is the key part of how they'll make the most of their money, allow you to sell your claim to them prior to it being resolved because, of course, most people don't want to wait 10 years to maybe get their money back. That again will be purchased by them with their made up currency that isn't worth anything unless other people are actively using it, trading it, speculating on the price going up, as people typically do in other cryptocurrency assets. They'll probably buy the claim from you based on a fraction of what it's supposed to be worth if it actually got paid out. This, as far as I can tell for them, is a win-win. They'll also allow you to use those claims you upload to their platform as collateral to trade on margin, which essentially means they're letting you gamble on markets with the ashes of your previous gamble as collateral. According to their pitch deck as well, there's estimated $20 billion as of right now tied up in bankruptcy claims from both institutions and retail investors from when these companies went belly up, which you have to bear in mind, much of that $20 billion is directly the fault of these two people who are trying to start this company to profit off of exactly what they caused. Their roadmap's also a bit of a parody because it reads, "We aspire to lead the global progression towards greater financial transparency, liquidity and certainty." Meanwhile, they are literally in hiding from their own financial transparency. The founder of Wintermute, one of the largest crypto market makers, went as far as to suggest that any investors in the planned fundraising might jeopardize their relationship with his firm, aka, "Nobody touch this," or "We want nothing to do with you." Which is a shame people didn't do that before. When the cryptocurrency industry market, whatever we're going to call it, was so based on incest that all these people were essentially in bed together, despite the fact that they shouldn't have been. Competitors, people were selling cryptocurrency at a discount that was supposed to be vested, that they weren't supposed to be able to even sell until a certain set date, but they were doing it without smart contracts, which meant that it was just their word, like, "Oh, I promise I won't sell this until this date," which of course most companies do, right? They say, "Oh, you can buy in at this price," so we can raise liquidity and say that, you know, we have this big company on our books as well, they're supporting us. But of course they're not allowed to dump all of this into the open market at a markup and make immediate money, fucking over our retail investors. A lot of companies do this, but they do it with a smart contract which is built into cryptocurrency saying you cannot sell this crypto until X date. A lot of companies, because they were so horny to get into bed with 3 Hours Capital, simply said, "Oh yeah, just buy all this, but promise us you won't sell till this date." And then they did, which essentially fucked over everybody involved. Davies and Zhu declined to comment. Yeah, of course. "We're focused on building, adding new products and asset classes so that more people have access to financial markets. CoinFlex co-founder Sadhu Arumugam said. Sorry if I'm fucking up your name, but then again, you're doing this, so who cares? As news of the fundraiser began spreading online on Monday, they're really rich, by the way. I don't think their personal assets were ever in question, which they both bought mansions in Singapore for like $30 million each. They also claimed against their own bankruptcy, saying, oh yeah, you know, these assets that are locked right now because we've declared bankruptcy. They were the first claimants to say like, oh, some of that's my personal money. Like, absolutely fuck these people in general. As news of the fundraising began spreading online on Monday, the outpouring of vitriol was such that CoinFlex released a statement to clarify misconceptions about the proposed venture. Among points, it stressed the firm won't be called GTX, which was chosen as a placeholder name according to the release. What can you even say about that? Somebody sat there and thought, this is a really good idea. If this goes public, it definitely won't backfire. 3 Hours Capital failure was one of the most damaging events in a year marked by crypto implosions, from the Terra USD stablecoin meltdown in May to the FTX bankruptcy in November. Its creditors include Digital Currency Group, the parent company of crypto brokerage Genesis, which filed a $1.2 billion claim against the hedge fund. I can't believe they've called it F+1TX. They're literally laughing at you. Big true. This does seem like they've just walked away into the sunset after fucking everyone over and then said, oh, you know, what can we do to get one more over on the cryptocurrency community? Oh, we'll just make GTX. After wrong way leverage bets on digital tokens toppled 3AC in June, Zhu and Davies initially went quiet and their current whereabouts remain unknown. They were in Singapore at the time, but it's obviously believed that they left. Singapore is where a lot of big crypto people end up going, I believe for tax reasons. Plus, obviously, if you're very rich, living in Singapore is awesome. But I think they went to like Dubai or something after that. That's the current working theory. I don't know if anyone's actually after them for crimes. I know obviously Sam Bankman-Fried, the guy from FTX, has already been arrested. I don't know if anyone's actually technically after 3AC at this point, but they're still on the hook for the liquidation process and things like that. So them being missing is not good. Because if you're innocent anyway, why are you going missing? And some of the theories out there was, of course, that they owed money to organised crime, which probably not the greatest thing to be doing, to be honest. Over the last few months, the two have become increasingly vocal on Twitter, often using the social media platform to duel with 3AC's liquidators at Teneo, who accused them of failing to cooperate with the unwinding process. A Teneo representative declined to comment. Zhu and Davies are offering some of 3 Hours Capital's creditors the option. Listen to this. Reality is just stranger than fiction. They're offering creditors the option of converting their claims into equity in the new venture, according to minutes from a Jan 11th creditors meeting seen by Bloomberg News. Zhu himself submitted a claim in 3AC's bankruptcy, while Davies' wife is listed as a creditor. We expect many institutional investors will be unwilling to invest in a new venture from the co-founders of 3AC until all pending legal and regulatory matters with 3AC within and outside Singapore are resolved, said Chris Holland, partner at Holland and Marie. I assume that's their legal firm. I'm not really sure. It doesn't really give us any context on that. So from the great Web3 is doing great, this is what it says. Carl Davies and Suzu, with the founders of bankrupt 3 Hours Capital, have joined forces with Mark Lam and Sadhu Arumugam. The founders of the CoinFlex platform, which is undergoing restructuring due to its own solvency issue. Davies and Zhu are still on the run from liquidators. What a dream team. The group is seeking $25 million for GTX. Not only that, but the exchange plans to focus on claims trading. That is, the trading of claims held by creditors against debtors who are undergoing bankruptcy proceedings, like FTX, Celsius BlockFi, or Mt. Gox. If you don't know about Mt. Gox, that's a whole rabbit hole. That was where everyone was laundering their dirty bitcoins from Silk Road and stuff back in the day. The fact that 3 Hours Capital was a major catalyst in kicking off the string of bankruptcies we saw throughout 2022 was not lost on observers. And again, we use the quote of the arsonist returning to the scene of the crime, offering to charge their victims for buckets of water. So this is crypto in a nutshell, right? These were two of the people that ran I don't know if it was the biggest hedge fund in cryptocurrency, but it was one of them. It was basically a couple people who came from traditional finance. They were small fries in traditional finance, came into cryptocurrency, and because there was at that time no actual legit people in crypto that had like credentials for traditional finance, that everyone was just like, oh, these guys must know what they're doing. And they started making money hand over fist, legitly, like doing it in an intelligent way, arbitrage trading and stuff like that at the time. And then they started raising capital based on actual safe bets and hedging, and hedge fund, it's in the name, right? And then eventually they just went all in and just poured all of their money in really risky ventures, thinking, oh, if it keeps going up, we'll make tons of money. But of course, when it went down, they just absolutely tanked everything along with them. So just legendary actors in the space. Of course, they were deemed at the time the most legit company, and then of course some of the other most legit companies were so horny to make some of that money with them that they even got into bed with these people, which shows such a bad lack of judgment on their part. So basically anyone that were intertwined with Three Arrows Capital, FTX, things like that, companies you probably don't want anything to do with if you are still going to invest in the cryptocurrency markets, because if they're doing that with your money, with people who, as even a layman from the outside looking in, knew shit like this was sketchy, they're probably not people that have been making good financial decisions with the money that they're holding on your behalf. So there you go. Bit of a dry one, but that's cryptocurrency for you, baby. And see you next time. Peace out.